Welcome to Real Life with Jenny. My name's Jenny Sanaparatna. Grab your favorite drink, get yourself a snack, and we will get started. Today, I have my new obsession. I have no idea how these I do know how they came into my life. I bought them for my daughter's Bible study, and no one was eating them, so I was like, fine, I'll try them. And now I cannot get enough. Those Sour Patch Kids. Like, they are delicious. I am just like, this is not good for me. Anyway, and because today is a celebration day, I have a Caribou Earl Grey because Caribou is one of my favorite Earl Greys. So I have some of that. It's actually my last pack, but that's okay. I'll try to maybe get some more. So let's get real. I want to talk about a journey that I have been on that I've not talked about yet. And, I'm a little nervous about it, to be honest with you. So this week or last week, I'm not sure now what technically it would be, I became a pastor with the Assemblies of God. Woohoo! I know you are now cheering and hooting and hollering. I can hear you. You are just as excited as I am. So my husband has been a pastor for 29 years now, I think, maybe 30. And so he has been with the Assemblies of God all of our marriage, and I grew up Assemblies of God. And so when I started walking down this process of thinking about becoming a pastor, there were several different paths I could have taken. One of those was I could have done like the experience. So you can kind of get your license according to your experience and what you've done. And I've been married to Kevin. I've been doing ministry with him, that kind of thing. I could do that. I could have gotten my license under our ministry. Like that was an option and just be covered by that. But I really felt very strongly that I needed to do the work. Now, when God tells you to do the work, that's not the funnest thing. Like, right? When he was like, do the work, I have to tell you, it was a real struggle for me. It was not like I was joyfully doing the work. It was not. Because I don't feel it. Never heard the word joyfully do the work, Jenny. I heard do the work. And now I'm just nitpicking. But they have all these classes that you need to take. And because I didn't go to Bible college, I got married right away when I was young. So I had no classes whatsoever. So I had to start taking classes. And I will tell you, they were they were hard for me. Not because they were difficult, but because they were things that I knew most of the stuff already. And I started calling them hoops because I needed to just jump through all the hoops, check off all the boxes, and do what I needed to do what God told me to do. And it was like I had to do a year-long internship, lots of different classes. I had to do some online because I couldn't get to the ones in person. Like it was a whole combination. Great program. It was a great program to go through. But for me, it did not bring me joy. It was actually like my daughter and husband would be like, oh, are you studying? We're leaving. Like, I was just not a joyful person in the process. I really, I'm not the kind of person that likes schoolwork in any way, shape, or form. I do not enjoy testing. I do not enjoy reading for education's sake. I do not, homework, don't even get me started on homework. It was the whole thing. And I really struggled with continuing because it was for me, a 2.5, almost 3 year process, because I felt like every time I was like, you know what, I could just not do this because, God would say, do the work. And it was really tough. But this last week, I got to celebrate all of that work. And I got to stand with a group of other people that committed to be pastors and leaders and make a difference around the world. Like that was for me. I stood there and I cried. My husband brought 2 Kleenexes with, and I'm like, I don't need any Kleenexes. I'll be fine. It's not that big of a deal. And knowing I knew it was a big deal, but I was like, I'm tough. It'll be fine. Yeah, I used the Kleenexes because I stood there and I felt like I did the work. I did the work and I became something that I have known since I was little that I was supposed to be. I've always known that God had a call on my life. And I just didn't know how to get there, right? Like I just didn't know how to get there. When I was a young kid, I've said this before, I felt called on the mission field. And I knew that I wanted to teach people or at crocodiles about Jesus. Because I was really an outgoing person, so crocodiles needed Jesus too, right? Like that was my whole philosophy. But I knew the call of God was on my life. I knew that all the way through. When I met Kevin, I knew that I had to set aside my plan of being a missionary and become a pastor's wife. And for me, that was a really difficult thing because I really wanted to be overseas. Like that was something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to live overseas. When people talk to me and they're like, oh, you'd want to live overseas? I'm like, yeah, since I was 6. Like this is just part of who I've been, which is why for me, our ministry, Christ Connection, that we take 1 to 2 trips a year overseas to work with missionaries and pray with insight and do what we do overseas and teach on prayer and all kinds of things. It is my heart's passion because I've wanted to do that since I was little. And then I got into the workforce, right? Like that's what happens. We had a church and then all of a sudden I got into the workforce and I would sit in my office with my coworkers and my girlfriends and I'd be like, I don't want to be here. Like, I want to be out in the world. I want to be making a difference. I don't feel like I'm making a difference here. And I knew I was making a difference in my own way there. 1 student at a time, getting them connected and helping them see their potential was my passion at that time. And I still have that passion, but I no longer have that job. So this time I'm standing in this crowd and I think there were 150 total between like certified, licensed, and ordained. It doesn't really matter about that, but there were 150 of us total, and I stood there before the Lord and I vowed to be a licensed minister for the Assemblies of God, and I had tears running down my face and I was like, wow, it was worth every hoop. It was worth every checked box. It was worth every moment of tears of I don't want to do this anymore. This is frustrating. I'm not feeling like this is working. Every moment of that, and just that God said, do the work, Jenny. Do the work. It was worth every minute. And so I just kind of wanted to come on, first of all, to celebrate because it's a big deal for me. And I'm not sure what God's going to use me to do other than our ministry, and I'm praying that he opens doors for me to speak, but we'll see what God does. That's really let's see what doors God wants me to knock on, and we'll see what opens. But I wanted to come on because sometimes you're just in the midst of do the work. You're in the midst of raising your children. You're in the midst of doing the paperwork at school, at work. You know, all that the paperwork needs to get done, but that's not the fun part of your job, right? I remember that so vividly. You know, you're in the tax season where you have to do the work, and then you get to see the reward afterwards. You know, you're in the middle of a diet, and it's doing the work. And diets never end, but you're doing the work and you don't see the results, and you don't see the results, and you don't see the results. And then all of a sudden, boom, one day the scale looks like you want it to look because you've done the work. And I wanted to encourage you to continue to do the work, to continue to go after and not give up. It is so easy to give up. It is so easy to say, you know what, I just can't do it anymore. This has become too hard. It's hard. And there are so many things in our lives that can tell us it's okay, take a break. And I'm not saying there's not time to take breaks, right? Like I took breaks, it's okay. But when you're pushing and when it's hard, you will see a result. You will look back and go, boy, am I glad I did the work, even though right now it feels overwhelming. And so I just wanted to encourage you to keep going after it, to keep going after what God's called you to do, to keep in the place of, yes, this is hard, but there's going to be a reward at the end. Some of us, our reward is going to be in heaven. Kevin, the other day when we were driving on this road and we're in the middle of nowhere, because that's kind of what happens for us. We're driving to a town that, you have to drive through nowhere to get to the town. And we're driving, and he looked at me and he was like, it's hard sometimes to be invisible because no one sees what we do. And I think a lot of you out there, no one sees what you do. No one sees the hard work that you're putting into what you're working on right now, whether it is a job or raising your children or fixing your finances or something, you're trying to educate yourself, you're trying to become healthier. Like there are just so many things we're all working on, and no one sees that work. They just see the result. And I'm going to celebrate you when that result comes, but know that it's okay to kind of be discouraged sometimes, but also know that you need to keep going and don't give up. Keep going because the reward is there. Now I am in the season that, okay, now I'm a pastor, and I was driving yesterday somewhere. I don't even know where I was driving. It doesn't really matter. But I was driving somewhere yesterday, and I was like, okay, Lord, now what? Like, I did the work. I got the result. Now what? That is a cycle of our lives. And I just don't want you to give up. I don't want you to go, this has gotten too hard. I just can't do it anymore. If you need prayer, reach out to me. I would love to pray with you. I would love to pray for you. I would love to make sure that you understand that doing the work will get the result. And that God has got a plan for you. He loves you. He sees you. And He will rejoice in the minor details of your life, because that is what's going to bring you a great result. Well, that's all I have for you this week. You can find me at Real Life with Jenny on Instagram and Facebook. You can also find me at christconnection.cc/Jenny. And you can support this podcast by going to buymeacoffee.com/Real Life with Jenny. I just so appreciate all of your support, whether it is on social media or buy me a coffee or even on my website. I just really appreciate all of your support. And I know that the work that I do now will cause a result in heaven. And that is my heart. My heart is for you to not give up, to keep going after what God's called you to do. There are things in your life that are going to be better because of the work you're putting in now. You all have a great week.